Hi, I'm Ese, and you're watching As It Is. Today we'll be talking about JAPA The New Normal. You know what? Let's JAPA into the conversation. What we have noticed over the years is that people in Nigeria have always traveled abroad. I mean, people have always sought education abroad, but now it's somewhat different. People are looking for security, people are looking for a better life. And so we have a situation whereby there's a lot of brain drain. There's practically the generation, the working generation, the generation that should be producing for Nigeria is being exported abroad. And I think it's vital that we get to the root of it. We understand why this is happening and what can be done better. What can we do about this situation so that Nigeria doesn't go down? So first of all, let's get your views on that. Let's start with you, Alman.
The Japan syndrome, depending on how you look at it, just the way you look at 6 and 9, it could be positive and it could be negative, or be to your advantage or to your disadvantage. But first, we have to ask ourselves, when did we start Japan, or when did we start running away from this country? And I did a study or to check history, and I discovered that the Japan syndrome started around 70s and 80s. Something led to it that made our parents or our brothers and our sisters that Japan do just to Japan. Then you observe that during the 70s and 80s, that was the period where the military were taking time to overthrow governments. So the country was becoming ungovernable for a lot of people. There was insecurity in the land. There was instability in government. So all these culminated into economic issues and all that. So that was the beginning, or the beginning point where people started asking themselves, seeking for better life for themselves and for their descendants. And many of our parents or many of our brothers then looked at immigrating to other countries. That is the genesis of Japan in Nigeria. And looking at the current Japan syndrome now, I checked Google and I was amazed that there is a term for Japan.
Interesting.
And it's a good one.
Okay. Because
it's a term that can find its roots to Nigeria. Okay. Japa it's gotten from Yoruba descent. Ja and Pa. So the Japa.
Run that.
So the name Japa came from the Yoruba descent, which has its roots in Nigeria. And what is Japa? Japa is people leaving a location now, in our context, Nigeria, and traveling to other countries, to Europe. It's been said that there's no country in the world where you don't find a Nigerian. And that is something that I want to see as positive from the Japanism. Like I said before, it has both positive and negatives. So depending on the angle you are looking at it, it can be beneficial and cannot be beneficial. What I put so far, I will see some other point again.
No problem. Michael.
So here's my own take in the whole scenario. You may mention when this thing started, but actually the fact is that lump being is a human thing, first of all. By nature, humans move, they move around. And it's not only about Nigeria, the whole world, the Americans, everybody move around. The Americans move from, I guess they say from Norway or so whatever, and the white ones, they move in there. Everybody move. It's a natural phenomenon. But here's the point. Bringing it back home to the context of what we're discussing right about now. Before the 60s, before the 80s, before the 70s, People have been moving, but the question you ask is, what were they moving for? Right, that was the issue there. The Ezekiel and Co, they all went abroad to study. They was in the 60s, not in the 70s. Some of them went in the 50s. The other K of whatever went in the 30s. So people were actually moving. So it's not a problem to move, because the advantage there is more than the disadvantage there is for Japaism. Because number one, whoever is leaving the country has 1 or 2 or 3 persons that's leaving behind. Right? And then by nature, just as an African, whoever is having an upper hand, the responsibility is on him, the honor is on him to take care of the one behind, lacking behind. It's a natural thing that we do in Africa, unlike the Western world. So whoever, for one person that is moving, he's leaving behind 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people, right? And then know how £1, $1 sent back home is something for the Nigerian economy as a whole. So it's a plus if you look at it. But the only downside of it is when they move, because the quality of people that are moving, how our government been able to fill it up? That's where the problem is. Because people have always been moving. The Beckers, they were brain drain too. They were the best of our hands. The doctors, Ramsey, Rasom Kuti and Co. They moved. The Awolowo were the best of our hands. They moved, right? So, but the point is, when they move, the present government, how they be able to fill it up. And the only way they can do that is to work on our education system. Because that same guy that you think is moving as one of our best was produced here. He was produced here. He was not raised abroad for him to become the best, that we're not losing our best. No, he was raised here. So when he moved, the problem is the government should be able to fill it back up again.
Okay, good perspective, Michael.
Yeah.
Let's hear what Steaze has to say about this.
Okay, as you're speaking to Steaze, I'm not in Nigeria. Just want you guys to know that I'm JAPA. I'm very good. I'm in. So I used to be so pro Nigeria at some point. I got a scholarship in 2012 to go to a school in Miami, and I turned it down. Why? Because I was pro Nigeria. So back then I thought I was doing something that made sense, but right now I'm just like,
Oh no.
by now, I'll probably be in another country way better than I am right now. There's so many, you asked the question earlier on, Michael, about what the why is. Mm-hmm. Why are people have been jackpotting, it's not today, but why are they jackpotting? And I also feel like the amount of people that are going is like a mass exodus. There's nobody I don't know right now who's not going or has gone. In fact, when I told my friend that, see, I've had enough. I'm thinking of going to another country. Right? At least let me just go there for 1 year or 2 years and even see whether jackpot is my thing or it's not my thing. You know what she said? She said, if you leave Nigeria today, you'll be the last friend that I would have had in Nigeria. So if you leave, I have nobody else in Nigeria I can call to say, oh, I need A, B, and C. That's to show you the amount of people that are leaving. Why are people leaving? Nobody wants to die now. Everybody, and it still boils down to all these economic factors, insecurity, things are so hard. The Naira is shit, is legit shit. Like, the only time I'm happy with the rate of the Naira to the dollar is when my client that pays in dollar pays me. That's all. Every other thing, I'm just like, why? Like, I'm literally almost freaking out on a daily basis. So I'm asking myself, if I sit in Nigeria and I use myself as an example, as an advertising or marketing professional, there's no country you go to, there's nowhere you go to in this world that you don't need marketing. What I earn as a marketing professional here, if I'm in another country, let me say US, for example, if I'm in the US or I'm in the UK and I'm earning in pounds, I have to even say that in pounds. If I'm earning in pounds, I know how much I'll be earning. But I'm sitting here, I'm doing legit what I'll be doing if I'm there. And like, what am I earning? I'm earning shit. Then I'm looking at my peers who left, some of my friends that left 2-3 years ago. Some of them they buy house now for US, for Canada, in the UK. I never even buy house for Nigeria at my own father's country. How? So I'm asking the question is not even why you jackpot, it's why shouldn't I jackpot? Okay. That's the question. Okay. Why shouldn't I?
Segun.
Yes, there are living things and non-living things. So living things are migratory by nature. Animals migrate when the climate is, when it's hostile to them, so they migrate. Birds, the great prophet, the Islam prophet, Prophet Muhammad, peace and honor unto his name, was born in Mecca. He migrated to Medina when it was getting too hot. Our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, the jackpot at the point, and
He
brought
did
him
a lot of
back.
jackpots.
Yes, Shango, the son of Oromiyon, jackpot at the point they had to go to. So migration is a normal thing. It's
a
nice
human
for us to
thing.
move. Yeah, let's move around. The question is, we have expatriates in the country. What is the condition? Are they considered as jackpot people like we are? So there are Chinese here. There are other, nationals here. Are we seeing them the same way they're seeing us? So the diaspora has always contributed to every economy, But I think we're under some illusion that once we leave the most blessed portion of the earth and we go to where, God forgive me, where sometimes there can be wildfires, where there can be earthquake, where there can be tsunami and all of those things. We don't have any natural disaster in this part of the world. It's
Except
only
the government.
human disaster. So I'm at a stage where I'm asking myself, I've taken my kids, all my children have been out of this country and they are back in this country. Because it is an illusion to think that when I run out of Nigeria, that's where the solution is. No. That's why I regret that our friend, Mr. Trump, did not win the second election. If he had won the second term, we'll be fine. Because then he will seal his gate up and
Close
they'll be
the walls.
forced to
find a way
repair
to
our
make things work,
homes.
yeah.
So migration is nice, but when you're migrating under duress, that's where the question is. So the jackpot syndrome is something we need to look at and re-examine very well. We are going to contribute. We have people here building our railways, building our infrastructures. What are we doing in those
In their own countries?
Yes, we're doing. So they're taking away from us. We are taking away from us too. And you just consider how much comes into the amount of money Nigerians send back home. Maybe runs into billions of naira annually. So the problem is deeper, I think, than we're looking at it.
Okay, let me bring this up. So Singapore, as a nation, unlike Nigeria, that, like you said, Nigeria is the most blessed nation on earth. I mean, with natural resources
Everything
that
is
we
human.
cannot even imagine. There are natural resources that we have not begun to even
Tap
to
into.
tap into,
Yeah.
and mine. Singapore doesn't produce anything at all. The whole country relies on human capital. They send their people abroad. So they jackpot by default. They send their people abroad,
Yes.
go and learn from the best schools in the world, and then you come back
home
and
and reach
build
us.
this place. And so they thrive on the fact that they have some of the most educated people across the world. So they jackpot, but they return. So the question that I'm asking now is it a matter of if, in terms of jackpot in Nigeria, or a matter of when?
It should be if. You see, I'm a student of theater, and let's see, Leopold Senghor, the father of negritude, Senegalese, the first black Senegalese president, jackpot, he went to France. So all our nationalists have to go out, because you have to go out of the doldrum to see clearer, what's going on here. Wole Soyinka wrote Death and the King's Horseman, and the man, the son that came to reclaim his father's dignity, Olunde, went abroad to see the value of his fathers before coming back. So that is if. When is very tragic. When is like you're thinking of a sinking ship. When am I going to, get out of this so that I don't sink with it? So, but it's unfortunate because this is the only nation that I know on earth that has no reason to suffer. Even if you're a thief, be a functional thief. Make those roads. See, first and foremost, give Nigerians light and good roads all over.
So we're asking.
Make sure that every nook and crannies of Nigeria is accessible, good road, and make sure that there's constant light, so that when I don't have light, it's like I've run out of credit. This prepaid thing. Make it like that, and watch Nigeria thrive. So what we end up doing, because of a leadership that's looking for wisdom, You know, what we end up doing is packing everything that we've got, and they've created that illusion that when I leave Nigeria, that's when I'm going to arrive. No, you ain't going nowhere. You ain't going nowhere. You're just going to be there. I mean, your uncle is there and all of those things. And that should call to question our morality as a people. So I can leave. What about the market woman? I'm not trained to think about them. And I've been into climes where the first time I got a culture shock was I was in a telephone booth in those days when telephone booths were working in the UK. And what I saw in the booth was the picture of a dog, missing dog. You know, you want to be in that kind of space where there's respect for humanity, life matters, children are taken care of. You go into their double-decker buses, it is there. Priority seats. Please vacate seats for those less able to stand. When you stand up in the mall we're here, it's out of home training, not out of what has been written.
Culture.
So, but JAPA is not the solution. Don't ask me when you meet me at the airport to come and look.
Could it be a temporary solution?
Yeah, that's what
Because when you said if or when,
Yes.
you're thinking when. So I mentioned earlier that I had an opportunity to leave the country and go school in Miami at some point in 2012. This is 10 years down the line.
Yeah.
What has happened? What is different?
No,
What
I
has
feel
changed?
your pain, sis. I feel your pain. I feel your pain. 5 years ago, I had my sons with me. 5 years ago, I was like, 6 years. I was like, yeah, we're going back to that country. We're going to fix it. My father studied abroad, had 3 of my siblings abroad in France. He brought them back home. So the question is, that idea of this is the time to leave is only going to elongate our problems. You don't know what I believe in. I do not believe in anything than the kind of magic individuals are performing under a grueling condition. This is a country that does not have light that produces ice block.
I mean,
This is a country where you use your generator to run your business and use the money made from that business to pay NEPA.
Segun, let
So the question has regard when or what?
if.
Yeah, or if. Okay. I am considering JAPA, but with an if.
Okay.
Now, my JAPA has conditions attached.
Okay.
I have identified some problem in Nigeria. Being a trained chemical engineer, and our oil sector, our refinery, and all the area that has to do with oil sector is in shambles. So my JAPA is trying to go out there. I've identified the problem when I did my MBA and MSc. I tried to focus on the refinery. So I did my research on the refinery and identified some problems which I need to go get solutions for. So my going out there to possibly do my PhD, by God's grace, I don't even have the money now to even fund to sponsor that. But my desire to JAPA is to go there, get a solution, then come back into Nigeria and integrate it to solve a problem. So if everyone that have JAPA in mind or that are JAPA in are having the interest of coming back to solve a problem, I think the problem that Steaze raised about 12 years ago is still the same problem we have now. It would have been a lot.
40 years ago, the government will sponsor you.
Let me wrap.
40 years ago, the government will sponsor
there
you.
will have been a lot different from where we are today. But what do you have? A lot of people are interested in their own personal well-being. And the well-being.
Can you help it?
Yeah, I'm coming.
Don't cry.
They are interested in their own personal well-being. Yeah, their own personal well-being and the well-being of their children. So many people that are even JAPA are JAPA never to return. And why am I saying that? You could imagine someone that is a bank manager or that is working in Chevron or Shell. Many of them resign that luxurious job, all in the name of JAPA, and you go out there to go and start cleaning toilets and bathing
with pride,
dead body.
All
because you want to live in a sane environment. So that is one. So I think we need to redefine like I said when I was starting, Japanism has both positive and negative. Now, one of the positives that Nigeria, in some years to come, we will step into. I see a Nigeria one day where all the sons of Nigeria scattered all over the world doing great things. They will begin to come back in their drone. It looks like a prophecy.
Alma Martin King.
It's going to happen. It looks like a prophecy.
Just the law of nature. It's going to happen.
I want everyone watching this program today to write it down and mark it down. This country, Nigeria, is not an accident. Fine, it could be an amalgamation. People like our colonial masters forced Nigeria on us, but God allowed it for a purpose. Nigeria, as it is today, we are unique in the entire world. Not because we have black skin, but pick a Nigerian man, put him anywhere there is conflict or wherever, they blossom. Why? There's something that I cannot even be able to explain that is in the Nigerian
It's because
gene.
we're used to
Now,
it.
how many countries?
Suffering.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
not talking about
I'm not
that
saying, no.
aspect. We're used to suffering.
I want to see it from that light.
No, but that's the light. That's the light.
I want
We're
to
used
see.
it.
I want to see the Nigerian man or the Nigerian woman as someone who have that grace to push through and break through diversity.
Perspective.
Can I say something?
Perspective.
Can I join in?
Suffered.
I don't hear everything. Make it so
I like the
right?
pigeon aspect.
Okay, so here's the thing. When you were talking about people moving and all that. A lot of people don't understand one thing. I've always said this a long time ago. I've been saying this a long time ago. A lizard cannot leave Lagos thinking that when they get to London, they'll become a crocodile.
Still a lizard, bro.
That's just one thing. It's a fact, right? That's number one. Then number two, whether we like it or not, whether we discuss this thing from today to tomorrow, yeah? There's something I have noticed. I've traveled quite a bit. I've been to America, I've been everywhere, right? There's one thing I know. 80 to 90%, let me just say 80 to 90%, right? Arguably, all of them that have jackpot, they're all preparing to come back home. It always
If you come to
happens.
another set, we go now.
It will always happen, all right?
This
So
is
first of all, what I would say is this: why are we panicking that somebody has gone, somebody is not going, someone has gone? It's an illusion. Let me finish, sir. It is not a problem at all. Then we make it look like it's a problem. You know why? Because the government making sure we begin to think like that. Because it is not actually anything but discussing.
It's not a big deal.
It's not a big deal.
I don't like what
Hang
said.
on.
He said something about strategic.
Hang on.
I'm not
Just give me 2 minutes.
Yes.
Just give me 2 minutes. Just 2 minutes. One should look out for those signs that God's hand is on Nigeria. Like the things that most other countries have gone through and they never survived. Somehow Nigeria remained. Babangida was once quoted. He said Nigeria defied all economic measures. Yet he said, as a sitting president, say I do not understand how Nigeria is standing. As a sitting president. Bottom line is, for me, this is the blessed country. It will always be. It depends on who you are. Are you a crocodile or you're just a lizard?
Or a London lady.
But unless you think that God is stupid, crazy to make you a Nigerian in the first instance, when he could have easily make you an American.
One statement to add to what you are saying now.
Yes.
For anyone hearing us today, if you are thinking of Japan, it's good. But have a reason why you're Japan and also have a plan, a reintegration plan.
You must come back here
into the system.
let me ask this question. I mean, you guys have brought a perspective of, your perspective from a biblical perspective to the Nigerian situation
all of
and to
us,
the
though.
JAPA.
You brought it back.
Yes.
Michael,
No, he started it.
He started it and then he dropped it.
I'm being
That's not on
prophetic.
us.
I appreciate prophecy.
Yes.
I appreciate prophecy,
I appreciate
but I am
facts.
a realist. In all honesty, I am a realist. A few days ago, there was a killing in Kano. I don't like to talk about deaths and things like that. Is it Kano? Sokoto?
Yes,
Sokoto.
Yeah.
And then Admiralty here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then in Admiralty here, certain people were mugged over 100 naira
Okay.
with
No,
napep.
you get.
Now,
Yeah.
Shows how developed.
so in all
Very
honesty,
developed,
when that happened, I went into deep thinking and I was like, you just wake up one day, go out, somebody could just on top, nothing.
Stab you for nothing.
And that's it. I was like, okay, does it happen abroad? Then I woke up to the news of the killing in
Try abroad.
South Carolina,
We are learners.
where somebody just went into a place and 10 people. So I told my wife when I woke up, okay, nowhere we safe. Now may God protect you.
Yes.
Okay.
you.
That being said, I'm concerned about when we talk about JAPA, we consider the people that have the means, the wealth to be able to do so.
Yeah.
How about the people that do not have means, but actually do not believe that there's any hope in this thing called Nigeria?
So the seed of illusion has been planted a long time ago.
Thank you.
That's what we're all
Suffering.
what's germinating.
That's what
So,
we're fighting with.
Listen, the Nigerian will go out of Nigeria with his degrees and become a security guard, become a cleaner, become a cab driver, become all of those things, and we comply with laws and orders. When they say don't do this, it stays there, it stops when there's red. The moment it gets to the airport in Nigeria and the immigration officer says, why are you talking to me like that? I'm like, I've seen you guys. You're like cows when you're out of your country. When you get to your country is supposed to be a dumping ground. So it starts from us. So when people say, government is this, government is that. Listen, if you follow government policies and rules and all of those things, a whole lot of things would have been set right. Because there are ministries set up to take care of certain things. There's Ministry of Women Affairs, of Youth and this, there's sport and all of those things. But I ask you a question. Our height of growth in sports had been when we were taken from home, outside. So we were like, in Olympics, we get to the last 100
Final
meters.
stage.
Yeah, for final stages, go and check all of them. They were grown from inter-house sports,
Yes.
Noga games and all of
Yes.
those things. The moment we started importing, and I have no problem with importing anything, that's not my problem. I mean, God has created a world because God loves dynamism. And that's why when people say, oh, let's go apart and so on and so forth, then I say, no, like you rightly said, the lizards will remain lizards when we go apart. The crocodiles will remain crocodiles. So it's about what are those values that we've been told to neglect. And because we are embracing new things, we stop thinking about the other person. And that is not going to stop anytime soon. You're running to a country where they base all their development on character. I'm a Yoruba boy, and the core value of the Yoruba man is Iwalewa. Iwalewa means character. It does not matter where on earth you come from. It is your attitude. Nigeria is a country where my thief is better than your thief. That's what we're protecting right now. It's incompetent, but it's from us, so let him handle it. So we've not started jackpying. We'll be jackpying. There's no solution yet until we go back to those core values. So you're going to find in the Fulani, the Yoruba, the Igbo, the everything, the good ones. Why can't we separate based on who are those that are happy that Deborah was killed in Sokoto?
I think,
And those that are disgusted by that action, let us base our separation on that. No, we are not doing that. So we are going around around the illusion that they've created for us, we're just going to enrich other lands when we think we want to japa. And listen, whatever I say today, don't be shocked when you see me at the airport with my family and my baggage and all of those things.
straight up.
But
I wanna say
I'll be
something.
doing that crying. I'll be doing that when I leave Nigeria. If I have to leave Nigeria, I'll be leaving Nigeria as a sad, defeated human being who has been cut off from his potential because you are supposed to grow where you are planted. The God that created me is not stupid at all. Kept me in a good place, but people have made that place,
Exactly.
inhabitable for me. So I'm thinking of running away. So I'm not going to run away feeling.
For me, I like to, and that's why I talked about facts earlier. So I like all the angles and all that, but I'm a very factual person. I like to face reality on, like, heads on. If you look at the average Nigerian is a selfish person.
No.
And the reason, I'll tell you the average, and the reason why we're selfish as a people is because we've gotten to a point where if you can't get anything from the government, sort it yourself, because the government is not going to do anything. Do you get? So when you talk about the people who don't even have the funds to japa, they've gotten to a point where if the government is not going to fix it, I'll fix it myself. So you go to certain places where you see people fixing the roads, their own streets themselves, just like trying to fill it up with sand or whatever. Or you see people, there's no light, I buy generator. Or buy inverter or whatever. That's where we have gotten to as a people. So for me, I would say, and Japa-ism is an individual journey for everybody.
Yes,
and I want to Japa because I want to go to school and come back. I mean, if you look at most of the fintech companies in Nigeria today, they are built by people or founded by people who went and came back. Now, they went with the notion of, I'm going to go and learn from these people. They get there and realize that there's nothing you want to give to the white man he doesn't have already. But we don't have it in Nigeria, so let me come back and give back. So whether that's a good thing or it's a bad thing, whatever angle it is, at the end of the day,
it still has a selfish approach to it,
so
because then you can make
money.
money.
So it's an individual thing.
I'm sorry to say,
Yeah.
some years ago, the government would look at you and give you scholarship to travel
To go and do that.
study.
It's still ongoing
And then
now.
you come back.
It's still not some years ago. It's still ongoing
Yeah,
now.
but I read so many.
Yes.
I read so many articles and issues where the government sends people and then
They
you're
don't
there
come back.
and they stop your
No
funding.
follow up.
Your funding.
Yeah,
you
some of
cannot-
them get
you cannot
stopped
do
there.
it.
Some of
I
them get
I
stopped
think
there.
it's a systemic.
You get what I'm saying?
I want to come from the angle of systemic problem. The Nigeria we have today, there need to be a rethinking from, let me use our president's language, from top to bottom.
Mind shift.
They need to be in mind, and I ask
Mental
myself,
migration.
I ask
That's what
myself,
we need.
what is the job of the intelligence of Nigeria? They're not doing anything. Now, you spoke about the lives that were lost. Now, it has become a daily occurrence that you wake up in the morning and you know that what the pages of the newspaper or the reviews, we have 20 killing here, 30 killing
Sounds
here.
negative.
It's normal.
happening,
It's normal now.
It's happening
Yeah.
all over
The
Nigeria.
The world.
It's either happening in the east where the one stand on gunmen are killing and destroying government properties, or it's happening somewhere in Sokoto where
Does that
they
stop
are-
you from going out on a daily basis?
You still go.
Yeah, you know
Well,
why?
still
Because the
don't
mindset is
It has
Konibami
become
as
a
an
norm.
individual.
Not
In Jesus'
Konibami,
name,
not
you're not
Konibami.
gonna-
No, I hope Konibami.
Yeah, exactly. That's what
It has not
we're
come,
surviving
it has not
on
come
now.
to a point where, well, like I tell anybody, the God factor is constantly.
Plays on.
And God has no business with Nigeria anymore.
Now,
If you were God created Nigeria.
But that is doing it. It's just like, look, I'm trying for you. There are so many other people.
let me wrap up what I was saying.
So much as a country, figure it out.
What do you want from me?
We have run out of time. So in closing, I'd just like for you guys to just drop a line in closing. Let's start from Alman.
Okay, I want to advise everyone that thinking of Japaing like myself, Japa for a reason. And when you are Japaing, Japa with the mind that what you are going to come back, identify problems here that you have in mind of coming to solve. When you go out there, look for the solution to the problem that you are coming back to solve back here. Then that is when your Japaing will have a meaning. But if you have the mind of just going abroad, just escaping, I see people sell all their properties and just with no mind of coming back. That's not the kind of Japaing that we are talking about. Japa, learn something and come back to integrate. And remember, And when you are in a foreign land, you are a second citizen. You will face the issue of racism. You will face issue of discrimination. You will face issue of oppression. You say what? Say what? Home is home.
You are going to be a successful visitor.
Yes, say home is home. Anywhere you go around the world, if you're a black man with a black skin and you're walking on the street of maybe New York or wherever, and they are suspecting you and seeing you as a criminal. Or when you are a black man, you work in your own country, nobody's going to maybe suspect you as a criminal except you carry out the act of criminality. So wherever you think of Japa in
Somebody mobbed some guy in
Japa for a reason. In Iraq, the Nigerian system, the Nigerian government or we need to have a system where we change our mindsets from being an importing country into exporting. If you are thinking about exporting, there are a lot of things to export. Like my sister and I
need to bring it home.
Thank you.
Let me just bring an aside before we move to Michael's closing. So I was watching a video from Steve Harvey, an interview he did in Ghana, and someone was asking him about what he thinks about Africans emigrating to America, and he was like, if I can tell these people something, they should not come to America. And I was curious to know why. So he said that in Africa, whenever he's in Ghana or South Africa, he realizes that when the police stops him, he's not afraid. But in the US, him as popular as he is, as rich as he is,
Afraid.
because he's a black man, every time the police stops him, he's scared. He's scared to his pants, like, am I going to see tomorrow? What's going to happen next? But I just thought we should just sink that in as well. Yes. Michael, your closing thoughts.
Okay,
Brief.
Very brief. Okay, I'll try enough. Yes, Alligator says. Do you, whatever works for you. But before then, if success is at the back of your mind, then there has to be value system imbued in you, wherever you find yourself. Joseph was in prison, he was the best in prison.
Yeah.
He was in Potiphar's house, he was the best there. So character, the value system you were raised with, and then, train yourself, educate yourself. It really doesn't matter where you find yourself. You will always strive. That's the bottom line. Every system, every country, every part of the globe, even Jesus Christ faced his own at one point in time. Right? So for me, Japa is not a problem, and it's not also the solution. The solution and the problem is you, the human being, you yourself, not where you go or where you are at right now. It is you. Because in this same country, where we are right now, people are doing so well.
Yeah.
People are doing amazingly well. Yeah. And they've not stepped out. What's his name? The guy that did GTB, that created GTB. If he left Nigeria, it was 2 years after he created GTB. The first time he stepped out of Nigeria. You do not have to travel out to be the best here. You started from here, didn't you? Yeah. And your name has been all over the place. Do you get what I'm saying? Yeah. So whoever it is, do you.
I'm nothing without here.
Do you. If you want to go, it's okay. It is not, Japa is not a problem. And it's not also the solution. Japa is a normal human phenomenon. Yeah. Americans are all over the place. Nigerians are all over. The reason why they say in every country you find Nigeria is because we're a lot of people. 200 millions. Over 200 million. That's why we're all over the place. Not because
it's not even enough.
It's not enough. So it's not because that we have to. We really have to. Because the problem we're facing here, Ghana is facing the same thing. Kuwait is facing the same thing right now. Now, what's the name of that country that Russia is showing shaggy now? Ukraine, they are facing their own. Everywhere, America, they are facing their own. UK is facing their own. So where exactly, something's coming from up. And the ground said, I have to run away from here so that it will not hit me. He runs here to become what? To become ground. So it's not where. So my bottom line is, Japa is not a problem. It's not a solution. Do you, but do you with common sense. Period.
Strategic.
Yeah.
Steaze.
So I would say it's not too far from what he said. I would say, like I said earlier, Japaism is an individual journey. So, the people who have stayed in Nigeria and it's worked for them, the people who have gone and it's worked for them, the people that have stayed here and turned into shit, people who have gone turned into shit as well. So For me, just be a bit deliberate or strategic about what it is. There's a saying that you do not know where you're going if you don't know where you're coming from. So at the end of the day, your roots still matters. I'll use myself as an example. My mom was pregnant for me and she was in Paris. And then she told my dad, she left my dad and my elder sister, because my sister is first, I'm second. She left my dad and my sister and said she wants to go and give birth in Nigeria. And so when I heard this story, I'm like, she gave birth to me and then took me to London. I'm like,
For what?
is it that you are not okay or what?
Can
Why
you
did you
just
just
get
give
my
birth to me?
for me as
That
passport
time,
as
that's how I said, I wouldn't have this issue that a lot of people are having right now. But
you
you know,
for
for me, when I found out about that story, I just told myself that there's a reason why God wanted me to be born in Nigeria. But I also need to be quite strategic about it because there might be certain solutions, things that I'm supposed to do in Nigeria that the answer, the key to that might be somewhere.
So it's
I
not.
might need to go and pick.
So you're not jackpying.
You understand what I'm saying? So that's why I said be strategic about it. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going and you're forgetting your roots or just sell everything you have and just cut out and go. So it's an individual journey. If it works for you and you want to go and forget about Nigeria, I mean, all well and good. I'm not going to compare my story or my journey with the next person because our journeys are different.
Yeah.
So in my work, you might go and never come back and it will work for you. I like to look at, Segun mentioned earlier about how Nigerians go to other countries and become like, security guards, cleaners, maids. But if you look at today's world, especially with things like IT, tech, people are actually going and doing like pretty nice stuff out there. I have a friend that works with Facebook. I know like 2 or 3 of my friends that work with Google. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you go there and go and turn into a cab driver or whatever. It might work for you. It might not. There are people that are still going there and do rubbish. Your journey is your journey. So whatever it is that works for you, just be deliberate and strategic.
Just to also, drop a line on that before Segun closes as well. So I have friends that have gone to the US and the UK and are doing amazing. They are earning more than most citizens in the city. They have houses, they have things working for them. I also have those that are still struggling after 15 years.
The greatest designers of automobiles are Nigerians. I'm just talking about the other half. I'm talking about the hosts. We they teach them. Nigerians are teaching Oyinbo. They are teaching them English language in England. So that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that the values we take to those places and we are imbibed when we get to those places, if only we can. People roll down their windows, their jig wagons to drop trash on the streets. They see red lights and they keep going, Everybody's blaming the government and so on and so forth. And you can see immediately that they're just waiting for their own opportunity to eat their own. So it's about mental migration. It's about shifting values. Just go back to who we are. Fine. I tell you that if I have to JAPA, I'll be JAPA as a sad man, not as a fulfilled man. It's fulfillment for some people to say, oh, I'm out of that space. How can I live?
Thank you so much for being on this panel. It has been amazing for me. This has been Say It As It Is, and I guess we have said it as it is. Thank you and see you next time.